Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Joey. Super excited. Got a new video for you today. And today we're going to go over something that's kind of been a thing that I've thought about, quite a bit throughout most of my life. And what we're going to get into today is advice that you're given as a musician, and maybe advice that you've given to other people. A lot of this advice that we get along the way can be very helpful and could also be very hurtful. And what we're going to be going over today is going to be the top 5 best advice and the top 5 worst advice. This is going to be a fun video to make. It's something that, like I said, I've been thinking about, doing for a while now. And advice is something that's, kind of hit and miss, but at the time, you may not know that it's hit and miss. And, it could be coming from somebody that you really trust. And it could not be, worse advice for you. Or sometimes some of the most, inept people with no musical experience can give you advice, and it can be some of the best. Actually, that's what happened with me. Somebody in my life, my dad, who I lost in 2010, had given me some of the best advice that I could ever get, and my dad knew nothing about music. Or he enjoyed music, but the music business and what goes on and being in a band and all that stuff, he didn't have any idea about it. And towards the end of this video, I'm going to give him a shout out. We're going to go over what he told me and how it changed my life for the better. Took me from being a homeless person to owning many homes, and to, being financially set in my life, was in a large part due to my dad. Thanks to everybody that clicked on my video for my house project. For those of you that don't know, I went through a 5-year project of a house that I bought as an investment property. And in that video, I went through every single facet of it, from buying it to renting it, to squatters and police, and then evictions, and then ultimately rehabbing the place and selling it. And I put out every dime that I spent, good and bad, into that video. So it's a very personal video. It's something that I put out there because I wanted to inspire people to, look past their normal, everyday goals and to shoot for something higher, because I sure did. I had big goals, huge goals in my life from the year probably 2015 until now. I'm still working on them today. So more on that in a little bit. This will be the top 5 worst advice. And coming in at number 5 is going to be that you have to go to school to be an accomplished musician. You have to go to Berkeley. You have to go to whatever music school everybody deems is the right music school to go to. Some people will say you need to do that to become an accomplished musician. Couldn't be more wrong. I've made way more money than a lot of people I know that have gone through tons of schooling, even professors of schooling, people that have just spent all their lives and all of their money going to school to get an education. Now, with that said, there is pros to that. They can speak the music language. They can, probably give lessons to a lot of people. They can, do a lot of things with the intelligence of that. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of intelligence involved in that. And a lot of arguments can be made. School could teach you a lot of other things rather than playing the guitar or an instrument. They could teach you a lot more about the music business. And basically, kind of once you get all that knowledge and everything in your head and you get out into the real world and you go to start to make music, you can throw all that shit away, because that's not going to protect you from the opening band trying to start a fight with you. Yeah, And that's not going to protect you from a club not wanting to pay you. And that's not going to protect you from any of those things. You know, you got to have street smarts. You got to be a good street smart person to figure these things out. And yeah, you're going to learn 1, 4, 5 and minor 6, and you're going to learn, you know, why the Mixolydian scale, you know, has a flat 7 in it, and why a lot of really cool songs have a flat 7 chord in it. And yeah, you're going to understand, you're going to borrow from the, you know, the minor scale and all these things and everything. And yeah, it's good to know. I'm not discounting that at all. And that's not to say that I didn't learn a lot of this stuff in the real world at a later date. But I didn't take that advice. I learned at a very young age that music to me wasn't understanding it on that deep of a level. What it was for me was something fun to do with my friends. And to me, that is something that has stuck with me all my life. Okay? So every bit of my life has revolved around music, and the number one thing that I probably love the most about music is playing it with other people. Now, when you're playing it with other people, it's great to be able to say, you know, we're going to modulate to the minor third, you know, and to have everybody understand that, that's great. But it's not required. Like, I didn't graduate high school. You know, I was a bad student. I failed at school in every way. Not because I'm an idiot. No, my teachers used to say I was like, you know, I understood everything, but I just couldn't apply myself, and I couldn't, you know, do the work, and I couldn't go to school, and I couldn't do these things because of 2 reasons. 1, I was interested in drugs, and 2, I came from a very broke family, and the minute that I found a way to make money for myself, I was gone, and I was doing that. And my job was the most important thing in my life. It wasn't school. Later on, I got my GED, and I went to a community college and everything. I did a lot of things way later in life, which were great experiences, and I'll get more into that as we go. But you do not need to go to school to be an accomplished musician. And I couldn't say that that was worse advice. Next is that you have to take lessons. Lessons would probably help give you a jump start, and that's probably a good thing. It'll probably help you to get hired by a band faster, but I can also make an argument that taking lessons like in the beginning kind of takes a lot of the mystery out of the instrument. It takes a lot of the fun out of the instrument. You know, when somebody's got the ruler and they're, you know, teacher, leave those kids alone, you know, kind of thing where, you know, you could wind up with the wrong teacher and they could like do serious damage to you and also maybe ruin and deprive you of a life of music. And I've seen that happen. I had an ex-girlfriend where she was a great pianist, and, you know, just got burned out on all the lessons and all the learning. So, you know, an argument can be made that, you know, they could make you stop playing music. You know, like if I was to have a young person interested in music, like say 8 to 10 years old or whatever, I'd buy them a ukulele and, you know, just give it to them. Just say, hey, this thing makes noise. You know, listen to it make noise. Like, I know how to play a ukulele, and a ukulele is great for a kid. A lot of great music can be made on a ukulele, and it's pretty amazing what some people do on ukuleles, especially being kids. You know, this is a little bit daunting for a little kid. Let them grow into it, you know, that kind of thing. Give up now, you're too old. This is something that I would have probably agreed with, you know, maybe 15 years ago, but I don't know if I agree with it too much now, because it actually could make sense now. If somebody tells you that, it is bad advice. Don't let anybody tell you to do anything that you enjoy doing. If you love making music and if you love playing music, even if you suck at it, you know, don't let anybody ever tell you that you should do that or you should not do that. And here's why I'm saying that, because I started when I was very young, and it took me a long time to get good enough to be playing music. Nowadays, you can be older And there's so much information on the internet that can give you a jump start. There's so many tutorials on YouTube, and there's so many things that you can use to improve your guitar playing. So many tricks. If you're wondering anything, you have this huge database of YouTube to go to, and Reddit and all these other things. So if you want to learn how to play, have you ever seen the rain? It's very easy to go out and find out how to do that. Then you just got to get your fingers to work, and then you just got to get a metronome to work. So I'd say many years ago this was true. Nowadays it's not true at all. There's so much information out there that anybody can get into it. You can get into it at any time, as long as you enjoy doing what you're doing. That's all that matters. Next thing is you have to constantly be practicing. No, this is not the case in the real world. This kind of goes back to the people who go to school and they get taught they need to, shred scales for, X amount of hours, and you need to do this and you need to do that. Now, again, that's not to say that the guys that, that do that, they are incredible players and they'll shred you up and down, but let's compare tax returns. What did that person earn as opposed to what maybe I earned playing music, and how that stacks up. So with me, and I'm going to go into crazy detail with this on its own, in its own video, is I don't practice really at all. I play in a professional capacity where clients pay me to play music for them. And basically the only thing I do most of the time on the guitar is work on what they've asked me to work on, or work on what they've paid me to work on, because my clients have to pay me for whatever I'm doing for them. And basically that's how I survive. That's how I live. And my clients enjoy paying me because they want me to be, financially free and able to work on their music at all times. Like if they call me up at 2 in the morning and they have a 911, I'm going to take that call, because I don't have to get up and go to corporate America the next day. My clients are everything to me, and whatever they need from me, I'm going to work on. So that's what I do instead of practicing. Now, for the guys that, go, for the guys that sit around and do that, if you enjoy that, then you should do that. I don't particularly enjoy that. And also, like I said, I'm going to get into crazy detail about why I don't practice, why I don't really play the guitar all that often, unless, I'm being paid for it. And we'll get into that in detail. So those were the top 5 worst advice that I could think of at this time. So that was my top 5 worst advice. So this is now my top 5 best advice. I would say to anybody starting out playing music to immediately get good enough to play with others. And when I say that, I mean play with others who are on your level, because if you're, really bad, people who are really good are going to have a tough time playing with you. They may not want to take the time to play with you. Some might do it just for fun, but they'll never do it in any kind of an ongoing situation, So if you're young and you're with your friends or whatever, like I did, this is how I got into it. Me and a group of my friends, we started a band when we didn't know what we were doing. We eventually learned in the School of Hard Knocks, but we stuck with it because we were all on the same level. One of us wasn't this Steve Vai god, and we were all on the same level. So we all spoke the same language. None of us knew what the fuck we were doing. So it was basically a really cool thing for all of us to do, as players at the time. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of cool things together, and more on that kind of in another video. But let me know down in the comments, do you play with a lot of your friends still? Or I still talk to, these friends. However, I chose a different path, and I chose to play cover music for clients. They chose to stick with original music for fans, and to each their own. I could not do music without being paid. I do it for money, and unfortunately, it's very difficult to make money in a original band. So the next thing I would say is if you're just starting out, be competent on the guitar, bass, drums, and piano. Be serviceable. Be able to go to a piano and say, look, this is the chord progression I'm talking about right here. And to be able to articulate that to somebody. Or to be able to hum a melody and to be able to say, this is how the song goes. This is the melody. Let's get the chords underneath that, you know. I would say that probably the biggest regret that I have, because I played a lot of drums and I played bass and I could hang on all those instruments. I even had to play bass on a tour that I went on when the bass player canceled and didn't do the tour. So I was thrown in. I was the lead guitar player. I was thrown in to play the bass, which I wasn't ready for and I wasn't prepped for. And I hate doing anything that I'm not prepped for. But, you know, you do what you got to do and you step up to it. I knew what the root notes were. And I just kind of, you know, played what I could. And, you know, it was a strange situation, but at least I was serviceable. At least I could like manage, you know, on guitar, bass, and drums. And I also took some piano in college. I didn't stick with it, but I wish maybe I did start out with piano, because piano is a great way to learn chords in theory. It's very easy, like I'm very visual. It's very visual to learn on the piano, you know, what the chords are, what the scales are, what the intervals are. Very easy to see. And I didn't experience that until way later in life. Now, at this phase of my life, the only thing I wish I would have focused on was to work on my voice. Period. That's, you know, being a guitar player that's able to sing backup vocals or maybe a song or two just to give the lead singer a break in a 4-hour set, you know, is huge. And now that I do a duo with my wife and she does all the singing, I wish I could help more. A lot of the ways I help is by recording a track or helping on the recordings and stuff, but it's very difficult for me to sing live because, unfortunately for me, I can't really hear myself very well. I don't have a very strong voice. And when you can't hear well, you can't hit the notes. And I'm not somebody that can use in-ear monitors for whatever reason. I just don't like them. I enjoy music, feeling the music as a whole. So to sum that up, I wish I would have spent more time on my voice. I think that would be more helpful to me at this phase in my life. But that doesn't mean I'm not working on it now. I mean, I'm trying. I'm working on it. And I try to sing in our acoustic duo. And trust me, you can hear yourself a lot better. But boy, you stick out like a sore thumb if you're not hitting it right. And I don't practice as much as I should because I'm too busy making money. So I'm in a tough spot. I want to, you know, work on my voice. I want to get better as a singer, but I want to make money more. So when I have free time or when I'm working on things, I want to work on what my clients ask me to work on. Now, if a client comes up to me and says, hey, I'll give you, you know, several $1,000s to sing Hava Nagila, you goddamn right, I'm going to figure that shit out. The next thing is be able to operate Cubase, Pro Tools, any of those DAW programs. You need to be able to understand them and to be able to work with them. And also you need to understand video editing and video production. That is huge advice I would give to anybody starting out in the beginning. And the first thing I would say was, you know, you need to start a YouTube channel and you need to catalog your entire journey. I wish I would have done this a lot sooner. I started my first YouTube channel in 2010, but I never posted anything on it until like 2018 that was meaningful. So there was 8 years that the channel was just neglected because I was out playing gigs. It wasn't until 2019 that I really started getting into video. And then 2020 during COVID was when I really dove into video. And I took all my time because I wasn't gigging. I spent all my time fully engulfed in cameras and video production and video software. And I would tell anybody now, period, make sure you start out doing all this in the very beginning of your journey. Please. I cannot emphasize this enough. Make sure you know how to book, manage, and do the accounting for your band. Make sure you know how to run a business. This is the other thing that I would recommend, and you don't have to know this up front. You learn a lot of it along the way. And around 2012 or 2013, my business became too much for me to do the accounting and do the bookkeeping and stuff. So I was smart enough to hire a great CPA. And this CPA has helped me. He's still with me today. He's done every bit of tax work. He's handled every tax issue I've ever had over multiple businesses, not just the music business. I own 3 businesses. You know, having a damn good CPA to help you along the way. I wouldn't recommend you trying to do that on your own. I would recommend having that done by a professional. That's good advice. Also, the main thing that I would tell anybody is, you know, again, just to reiterate, to make sure that you know how to book your band. Make sure you know how to deal with club owners. Make sure you know how to deal with clients. Make sure you know how to deal with all these people and get good at it. I play a lot of poker in my life, so a lot of times when I'm doing negotiations, it's a lot like a poker game. You know, is this person bluffing? Is this person telling the truth? You know, what can I do for money? On this event, you know, is this amount gonna scare them away? Is this amount gonna be too low? You know, those kind of things. So being able to book and negotiate your band is huge. And also, above all, be a band leader. Know how to lead your band. I can't emphasize this enough. All right, and I'm gonna finish this video off with a shout out to my dad, who I miss a lot. He was a military person all of his life. Loved music, came from a musical family, but my dad had no music ability in him whatsoever. And when I was younger and dumb, you know, when I was first playing in my band, my dad said something to me that sticks with me to this day, that was very prophetic and so profound. It was so deep. So had I listened to him, I would have been in a very incredible financial position so much earlier. I wouldn't have been homeless. I wouldn't have been a drug addict. I wouldn't have done so many things that I did out of desperation just to survive. Had I listened to my dad and this one thing that he said to me that I will never forget as long as I live, and I would tell any young musician this: please work on your original music when you're young. Play your original music when you're young. Fight for original music when you're young. That's the time to do it. But while you're doing it and you're playing live shows, play a mix of originals and covers. There's no harm in playing covers. Play originals and play covers. You will build an audience faster. You will learn a lot about music by doing that. You will entertain crowds a lot more. Clubs will ask you back. Eventually, one of 2 things will happen in your path. Your original music will become so popular that you don't have to play covers. And that's great. That's amazing. Very small percentage of people that will happen to. And for those small percentage of people that happens to, crazy fame and fortune all the way around. Now, if that doesn't happen to you, be prepared to pivot and be prepared to do client work playing covers where you do not play any originals. People do not care about your originals. A 24-year-old bride will not request one of your originals for her first dance. They're not going to pay you for that. So it's important to diversify. Original music and cover music. Which one takes you further? Maybe after playing cover music for a long time, you are now financially stable enough to put out an album and to put out a good album. But by giving yourself the option to go 2 different ways, my dad told me the greatest advice ever, and I didn't follow it until after he died. It was in 2012 when I decided that I was going to focus on cover music as much as original music. And when I did that, the cover music took off wildly and the original music was stagnant. I made a ton of money. I made no money. And I was having a lot of fun playing to full rooms. Nobody was at my gigs. It was an incredible thing to go through. But when I finally dove into that and got into that, what my dad said it was just so profound that I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I miss my dad a lot. And I wish I could have shown him, what all I did along the way to go from, being pretty much a putz to, being financially stable for the rest of my life through a life of playing music. And that's what I got for you today. Take care.